Trump's legal team what they just filed. The Trump campaign filed a lawsuit to the Wisconsin Supreme Court today, alleging abuse around the process of absentee voting in the state, which they say affected approximately 220,000 ballots. The lawsuit was filed today and comes after Wisconsin completed its partial recount, which maintained that Joe Biden won the presidential race in the state, and after Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers formally certified Biden's victory just last night. The Trump campaign's Wisconsin legal team, led by former Wisconsin Circuit Court Judge Tim Trupas, told Fox News that while the recount in the state did not flip in President Trump's favor, it gave the campaign the, quote, unique ability to examine ballots. Exposing exactly how the election process were abused in Wisconsin holds enormous value for the election beyond a victory for President Trump. But the fact is, our state's electoral votes likely won't change the overall outcome, Trupas told Fox News. Regardless, we're demonstrating that the results of the election unequivocally ought to be questioned. The legal team also said the suit highlights a, quote, lack of transparency and credibility on part of local election officials and their willful disregard of the law on multiple occasions, and added that the state's laws and processes gave it the, quote, unique ability to illustrate this abuse with precision. The campaign claims officials on the Wisconsin Election Commission and the city clerks of Milwaukee and Madison, quote, willfully disregarded the current statute and made conscious efforts to circumvent Wisconsin election law, resulting in tens of thousands of votes cast well outside the bounds of Wisconsin law. It also asserts that the law was violated on several occasions through what it described as altered certification absentee ballot envelopes, a lack of required absentee ballot applications, unlawful claims, confinement, and voting events called democracy in the park, end quote there. Wisconsin law requires that written absentee ballot request forms must be submitted ahead of the voter casting their absentee ballot, but the Trump campaign claimed that election officials instead, quote, accepted ballots without the required absentee applications on file. The Wisconsin state legislature has explicitly required an application, a Trump campaign official told Fox News, saying it is, quote, mandatory, and any ballots without an application or with an incomplete application are not to be counted. The campaign said ballots cast without the initial absentee ballot applications on file must be called into question. Next, the campaign pointed to Wisconsin law, which requires any ballots that are incorrectly filed out, missing information, or damaged to be returned to the voter to correct and resubmit. But the lawsuit alleges municipal clerks were, quote, illegally altering ballot envelopes themselves. In many instances, witness addresses were left off of the envelopes, and clerks, using their own knowledge or searching in unknown databases, filed in the information themselves. A campaign official told Fox News, according to the statute, this is illegal. If the certificate or envelope is missing a witness address, the ballot can be counted until the voter corrects the error. Plain and simple, the official added. Instead, election officials decided to take the law into their own hands, end quote there. The official also added these ballots were fraudulently completed and counted, and the illegal ballots should not count towards the certified vote totals. The lawsuit also alleges voters were, quote, fraudulently allowed by election officials to circumvent voter ID laws by claiming absentee voting status that under state law was only to be used for voters who are indefinitely confined. The status of indefinite confinement in Wisconsin is intended for voters who are physically ill, infirm, elderly, or disabled, and for those who are unable to vote in person under those terms. The campaign claimed that due to the confusion and misinformation from Democratic election officials amid the coronavirus pandemic, many voters requested that status even though they definitely were not confined. And this allowed voters abusing the status to vote without providing identification as required by law, another Trump legal team official explained. The campaign has said that back in March, Democrat election officials falsely told voters they could claim the status because of the pandemic, but said that quote was later struck down by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. The Trump campaign said that from 2016 to 2020, the number of indefinitely confined voters increased dramatically, nearly 600% in Dane County and about 500% in Milwaukee County. The lawsuit also will claim that clerks, quote, did not do their due diligence to remove voters fraudulently claiming the status and made no good faith effort to check publicly available information and remove indefinite confinement permissions from illegitimate voters. The lawsuit alleges that anyone who cast a ballot under the terms of indefinite confinement without meeting that criteria did so fraudulently, and therefore their illegal ballots must not be counted. Meanwhile, the campaign also alleged that the city of Madison created unlawful polling locations at over 200 locations throughout the city's Democracy in the Park voting events, and said that the ballots accepted at the events were, quote, illegally cast. The campaign claimed the polling locations were held outside of the county's approved polling locations and did not follow the state's strict absentee voting requirements there. A Trump campaign official told Fox News its lawsuit is to ensure that legal voters are not being disenfranchised by ensuring only legal votes are counted. Added that Democrat election officials, quote, motive is clear. They want Joe Biden to win at all costs, regardless of whether the votes for him are legal or illegal, the official said, adding that the court must do the right thing and remove the illegal ballots from the certified vote total. The Wisconsin Election Commission told Fox News that they do not comment on lawsuits. Neither Evers nor the Biden campaign immediately responded to Fox News request for comment. The Trump campaign's Wisconsin legal team told Fox News it had more than 4,000 volunteers working throughout the recount in the state. The lawsuit comes after Evers certified Wisconsin's results for Biden just yesterday. So we will keep an eye on this moving legal fight there in Wisconsin, as once again President Trump's legal team doubling and tripling down there in the state. So we will definitely keep an eye on that for you. As always, right now, President Trump has also appeared to acknowledge that his legal bid to overturn the election results, quote, probably wouldn't reach the U.S. Supreme Court, which has been the goal of his legal team. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on all of that right here for you on News Now from Fox, everyone. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Page. Thanks so much for joining.